He's a member of the Brotherhood, a member of the Parliament, and also a member of the Freedom and Justice Party. Dr. Abdulmougode Dardery, I had a chance to talk to him from his house in Luxor, Egypt, about the latest event in Egypt. President Morsi was a superhero, from winning the first civilian elected president in Egyptian history. You talk about a long history, 3,000 years. And he was a hero in a Western world level of, bringing a halt to the Israelis' attack in Gaza, and brought a very unlikely truce and peace within in a lightning time, and within like 2 days he became the most hated. I don't want to exaggerate, but he almost was under a palace arrest, house arrest, so tell us what happened in the last 3 weeks.
Let me first agree with you that we first time in 7,000 years the Egyptians have the first elected president by the Egyptian people, first time. And President Morsi is an embodiment, is a clear embodiment of the Egyptian revolution. His election was phenomenal against all the odds in the Egyptian politics and against even foreign interference in the Egyptian electoral process. And in spite of this, the Egyptian people were able to say, yes, we will have to elect our own president, and Dr. Morsi will be our president. We were faced with so many challenges. The first challenge was the army. He was able to sideline the army and give the specific job of the army to protect the borders of the country and stay out of politics. And he miraculously was successful in that. Then after that came other challenges. The police, where security, we still have a problem with how the police functions. And then we still have a problem with the judiciary. The judiciary was still, Mr. Ahmed, Egypt lived for so many years under corruption, under dictatorship. So many elements in society came to be either rotten or corrupted. The judiciary was the other battle. He wanted to get the judiciary out of politics. The moment the judiciary and politics come together, it corrupts both. It corrupts politics and it corrupts the judiciary. And that was another battle. There will still be other battles to complete the objectives of the revolution. We really need to move the revolution from the streets of Cairo into the offices of each and every institution, and then into the hearts and minds of all Egyptians. In Egypt now, we have an economy that's in bad shape because of the years of Mubarak. We need to fix the economy so that jump is started, so that it can move forward. We have a problem in the educational system. We have a problem in the health services. We have so many challenges in Egypt. And I think as Egyptians, we need to come together so that we figure out what to do with these challenges. And I think we will be able to get great alternatives, because the Egyptian people deserve the best after they made one of the best and most important revolution in the history of the world.
You talked about the challenges and the fact that you need to bring all the Egyptians together. Elaborate a little bit about what is President Morsi doing, or your party, or even the Brotherhood doing to bring the opposition, the so-called opposition, which we can say liberal, secular, left, Christian, whatever. It seems to me there is a huge loss of trust between the two factions. Tell us a little bit about what is this drift between those two groups that they agreed somehow. They were together, Tahrir. They were together against Mubarak. You can accuse each other or whatever how togetherness that was. But what happened to in those few 3 months that really drifted the two groups apart? And now I don't see there is any trust.
Yes, that is a very serious question, and it's very difficult to answer it without going back to the years of Mubarak. Don't ever forget that we're coming out of dictatorship. One major characteristic of dictatorship is fear, and fear leads to mistrust. President Mubarak made us mistrust one another. The good thing about the revolution, it brought us together. Then after the revolution, mistrust started. It started gradually until things came back to the people of Egypt to choose which direction we take. As Egyptians, we decided to go through the democratic ways and means. Unfortunately, in Egypt, we have what we call the elite, Nukhba. And the elite, unfortunately, was almost always detached from the majority of the people. During Mubarak's time, they did not really need to be attached to the people because Mubarak was doing all the job. After the revolution, they really failed to work together with the people of Egypt. Not go your way, we have to go our own way. We said one thing, let us agree to disagree. You go your way, we go our way. Who will make the final decision is not us or you, it is the Egyptian people. In fact, today was the 5th round of dialogue among different groups, different political groups in the Egyptian society. They meet, and they're likely to meet on a regular basis to discuss so many issues. There are so many issues we're going to disagree on, but the challenge for us, you see, Mr. Ahmed, democracy is a challenge. Because democracy means the rule of the people, for the people, by the people. Then the majority rules while the rights of the minorities are to be respected. The challenge is when some who represent the minority thinks that they are the majority because of the history during Mubarak's era. This is not going to work in New Egypt. In New Egypt, there is a democracy, there is a majority, and there is a minority. They need to be able to work together and respect one another. Let me just give you the other example. Imagine the referendum went to the Egyptian people. More than 63% of the people said yes to the Constitution. To the surprise of so many Egyptians, a leader of the opposition, in fact, the main leader, Mr. Hamdian Sabahi, stood up and said we will not recognize the results of that referendum. That is scary. That is not right. That is undemocratic. With 63%. Look at all other constitutions. Like a few weeks ago, you had Barack Obama on one side, Romney on the other side. The result was not very different from Morsi versus Shafir, the ex-candidates. But then in America, they both respected the results of the election. Unfortunately, some opposition leaders until today are not willing to respect the majority vote, and they're insisting it is their way or the highway. And this is not likely to be accepted in New Egypt.
It's amazed him when you talk to them, you talk to secular, almiyin, whatever they call them, they always use hujjah, they recite Quran or give example of religious scholar or leader, or Umar ibn Khattab did this, or Abu Bakr did that. The secular use religious argument, and the religious group using the secular argument to make their point. So you're not that far apart. And I see this not just with the people I interview, I see it on television, I see this. Egypt is unique, has a different history. What I'm talking about is what I'm hearing from the liberal and the secular, this Islamophobia.
Yes.
And the crusade against political Islam and Islam is even worse than the most conservative Western Rush Limbo conservative rights here in the United States. Yes. Which is really, I'm not blaming or putting all the blame on them. So you guys must done something to bring the worst of these groups. That what I hear about their criticism in a country where Islam, lived and functioned for 1,500 years, it's appalling for me. That's like a minority Muslim living in the United States for more than 30 years.
You see, that neat observation is very true. I think it is utilization or wrong utilization of religion for political purposes. It's very unfortunate that the secular leaders or liberals were asking President Morsi to go ahead and implement the Sharia laws. It was very strange. They really are trying to portray an image of Islam as something away from the Egyptians. But the Egyptians, Muslims and the Christians, are religious not only by tradition and history, but also by their nature. The religious people by nature, and the religious understanding is very tolerant understanding and very compromising, and they've been living with one another for 1,400 years with ups and downs, but they're really drawing one of the best examples of how different communities can live together. I think in the new Constitution, Article 3, it speaks of how the Christians and Jews have the right to be ruled according to their own Sharia, to their own set of principles if they choose to do so. It is the first time, not only in the history of Egypt, but I think the history of the world. There is an article in the Egyptian Constitution, article number 31, and I invite your listeners to look it up. It says, dignity is the right, not only of every Egyptian, but of every human being. First time in the history of all constitutions, it speaks of humankind, human dignity, not only Egyptian. So I think the liberals, unfortunately, are trying to use religion and they try to give it a negative connotation, similar to what you call, even worse than the Islamophobes you have in America, to give it a bad connotation so that they can win score political points here or there.
The majority of Egyptian, they are religious by nature. They are, they have their own value that is really very far away, as you said, from the elitist liberal. So, whom they trying to score points with?
They're trying to score points against the so-called Islamists, the Freedom and Justice Party. They would like to look more religious than the members of the Freedom and Justice Party.
If you can believe that.
Yeah, because you see, the Freedom and Justice Party is very gradualist party. It does not push for its agenda all at once. It prepares the ground. Then it helps people to understand what is going on so that people can participate in the decision-making process, so that whatever decision we make has to be representative of the people.
And that was one of the fear that the secular or liberal were having, that you guys talking, democratically and gradually, but once you consolidate the power, you're gonna enforce it, and we're gonna be another Iran. I hear this a lot. And you said we are gradually trying to push our agenda. So just maybe you want to explain that a little bit.
Yeah, gradually is people have to, at the end of the day, people have to make their own decisions. And to enforce a decision on the people will just wait for a time to reject it completely. So unless people are convinced of what they're doing, it is not going to be a successful democracy. The comparison with Iran is an old comparison. Impossible. Egypt is Egypt. Egypt is unique in everything. And it is history, and its people, and its value system, and its even understanding of Islam and the world. So Egypt will never be like anyone but like Egypt itself. I always think of the Egyptian kushari. Kushari exists only in Egypt. It does not, all ingredients of the kushari exist everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
But no one, I challenge anyone to make the kushari mix but the Egyptians. Even if others try, it does not smell or it does not taste like the Egyptian kushari. So this is what we are for. So they take us out of our Egyptianity to think of us like Iranians or Sudanese. That is not going to happen. By gradualism, I mean understanding. Understanding is a very important concept in the philosophy of the Freedom and Justice Party, our party, because we would like participation, what we call shura, which is consultation. And for people to be able to consult or to be consulted, they have to understand. So understanding is the first step, and this is what I mean by gradualism.
Can President Morsi run Egypt without those, liberal and secular? Can he? People are afraid he's running it through the Muslim Brotherhood. So tell us a little bit about his relationship with the Brotherhood, his relationship with Freedom Justice Party, and your relationship with the Brotherhood.
I see. Let us talk first about President Morsi. President Morsi resigned from the Muslim Brotherhood the moment he decided to run, the moment he won the election. So that was very clear decision. And I can give you an example. Even with the Freedom and Justice Party, President Morsi is the president of all Egyptians. And we really like to make, and he even resigned from the party, the Freedom and Justice Party. We would like to make this very clear that he is I'll give you just one example that happened with me in Luxor. When President Morsi came as a candidate, it was me who welcomed him, received him in the airport, and took him to the meeting room. And we had a conference in the Winter Palace Hotel, and I was there throughout his visit. President Morsi was elected. He became the president. Then he came to visit Luxor. I could not even meet him as a member of the Freedom and Justice Party because I did not have an official capacity with the government. That's why I could not even meet him in the airport. I hardly met him in the conference room. So that tells a lot about the distinction that President Morsi is consciously aware of, is to make between him as the president of all Egyptians and the Freedom and Justice Party as one of the political parties that are competing for power in Egypt. The relationship of President Morsi with other people in the country is really trying hard to play it fairly and squarely with everyone else in the country. Of course, it is difficult. Of course, there is a fact that he is our candidate. We voted him in the office. Like the Democrats or the Republicans, when the president is Democrat, everyone is assisting him as a Democrat, or almost all of them. Here, President Morsi, what he did, he chose so many different people, wide spectrum of different political forces to come as his advisors. In fact, more advisors he has from other people, because in Egypt will not be built by just the members of the Freedom and Justice Party. Egypt has to be built by all wise, willing to give Egyptians so that Egypt can move forward.
The Brotherhood, they've been away from politics for so many years. They've been always operating underground and running. So they all, most of their experience are on the other side, opposition side. And now they are in power. Now they are running the country. Now they are running company. The economy. This is a different business. So, do they have the caliber, the competence that they actually can provide President Morsi and his governments the guidance and all that? Because I know politics is a messy business. It's different than doing social programs or fiqh or religious spiritual things. So it's a totally different animal.
Let me say a couple of things in this regard. Number one, the members of the Muslim Brotherhood were never away from politics from day one. When they started part of their movement was a political movement. It was just part of it. So they were always involved in politics. It is true that they were not allowed to compete. Even the founder of the movement, Imam Hassan al-Banna, wanted to run for parliament, but the British did not allow him to do so and forced him. Very beginning, we had this political participation as a responsibility that we as Egyptians have the right to do it so that we can serve the Egyptian people. And it went on like this. Yes, true, during Nasser's era, the Egyptians, members of the Muslim Brotherhood, came to be spent so many years in prison, and during Sadat were not allowed. During Mubarak, sometimes trying, sometimes not. It did not work here. So they were never away from political participation, but they were away from political power. That is very true. First time for them to run the country. But before that, they were working with the unions, medical unions, teachers' unions, university professors' unions, all types of unions. And also they had their the economic tycoon of Egypt. Egypt now is the second man in the Muslim Brotherhood movement, Khairat al-Shatir. So they had very successful businesses in different parts of the country. In fact, in different parts outside in Africa, so many countries in Africa, more than 27 countries in Africa, they used to have businesses with. So we have that experience. Yes, first time we have that power to run Egypt, and we don't want to run Egypt alone. We really would like to get the experience and the expertise of each and every Egyptian who can work together so that we can achieve the objectives of the revolution.
Political Islam is taking the lead all over the world. I know the West, they say terrorism and all that, but it's taking the lead all over the world for justice and freedom and fighting American expansionism in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Pakistan, and everywhere you look. Probably the only. Why is political Islam in Egypt, where people have more power, more stability, and more history, will be something to frown upon and to be fear of?
Yes, that question requires me to go a little bit deep into history, the whole concept of what is called political Islam. I think the term itself, political Islam, started somewhere in Europe. I think it is the French who coined that term. When we think of Islam, Islam itself is secular spirituality, or spiritual secularism. So that is very important. We understand that this is the nature of Islam. Islam is not a religion, because in Islam we don't have a church, we don't have a clergy, no one is holy. We don't think of the imam as a holy man or a holy person. This direct relationship between the individual, it is a democratic religion. This direct relationship between the individual and God is very unique. And if you add the uniqueness of this understanding of Islam with the uniqueness of Egypt, this is where the difficulty is. Egypt is unique and it is history. Egypt is unique, it is geography. Egypt's impact. Egypt will impact at least 300 million Arabs. Direct impact on the 300 million. That's why Egypt is very important for the Arab world and for the international world. Egypt will also impact through its historical relation with the rest of the Muslim world. So it is the uniqueness of Islam with the uniqueness of Egypt. And that is the unique, that is the kushari image that I like to present every time I talk about Egypt.
I know you say it tongue-in-cheek, the kosher concept, but that's probably the most democratic dish in Egypt, was eating by everybody, old and young, rich and poor, and everybody, and you cannot fancy it. You cannot make it, a rich, expensive. You add eggs or beef to it, whatever. I didn't see anything to protect non-monolithic religion. That kafir. I don't know how big the community are in Egypt, but talk a little bit about the space for women and the space for workers and the worker right and the right for strike and all that. There's a lot of talk about this issue, which I thought this is really, those are the people who really played major role in the revolution, women and labor union.
Let's take it one by one. For women, first time in the Egyptian constitution does not identify women as women, but identify women as persons. So when it speaks of men and women are equal, and the constitution states clearly that they're equal in front of the law, they're equal in their rights and their duties. Maybe they will have different functions sometimes here or there, but that does not mean that they are not equal. So that is 100% guaranteed. There were women in the Constituent Assembly, and that is clearly stated in the Constitution of the equality between men and women. Concerning workers, I agree with you. Workers played a major role in the Egyptian revolution, and they have all the right. They have the right to form their own unions. They have the right, you know what? They have the right to be in the board of trustees. 50% of the board that runs a project has to be from the workers. There is an article that connects the labor with the money you get. How much labor you give and how much money you make, they're very much connected with one another, so that not only the few on the top get most of the money and the majority do not get anything. No, we wanted to create this social justice starting with the workers. The workers have all the rights for health insurance. They have all the rights for strikes when something goes against their understanding of social justice. So the really constitution is full of these rights for both men and women. Of course, President Morsi can never become President Mubarak. When the revolution started, ex-dictator Mubarak was the president of the country. President Morsi was in jail. Now it is the opposite.
Egypt for having another dictator. Talk to us a little bit about, I was very surprised when I found out the government wants to still get in the business of the media and press the same way that Mubarak did. You have your own media, and this is really the real. Why this is not an election and people let the people, you said, the people who's going to run the country, why still the president have the power to hire a mayor or a governor in a town that doesn't even know where it exists?
It's important that they are included in the new Egyptian constitution. Let us talk about media. During Mubarak's era, we used to have Minister of Information. What a shameful minister we would have. So we decided to cancel this whole ministry. We're not going to have a Minister of Information. A minister, that is a socialist idea. It's a communist idea to control what people read, think, and discuss. That is over. It is going to be over from right after the Constitution. Now we're going to have a National Council for Media. That national is representative of the media people so that they discuss their own concerns. So that's a very important guarantee that we're not going to have another Mubarak. The fact that there is an article in the Constitution that says only 2 terms for the president. So President Morsi has only a second chance. If he gets it, he can stay for another 4 years. If he doesn't, it's over. We have to elect another president. So we demanded that mayors and governors to be elected. We have municipality elected councils. This is going to happen very soon once we're done with the parliamentary election. And we would like also the governors to be elected. But due to the fact that we're coming out from highly centralized system, we cannot create a decentralized system right away. So we're giving it a period of 10 years so that by the end of the 10 years we will be able to have elections in the municipalities, and the governors will be elected by the Egyptians. It is their right. I agree with you.
You are,